Hello and welcome to IntenseGamingTV. My name is Ian Jones and today I'll be reviewing Disciples 3 Renaissance.
The grand day came, foretold in ages past. A star fell from the skies and night was bright as day.
Disciples 3 Renaissance is the latest in the Disciples series and was developed by Akella's studio, .dat. This is the first time that the series has left the caring hands of developer Game Factory Interactive, and it definitely shows. The game is flawed from top to bottom, from simple animation and texture issues to the big picture stuff like how the game plays and progresses. From the main menu of the game, you can start one of 3 campaigns, play a single mission that you have already completed from the campaigns, or start a game mode called Hot Seat. Hot Seat is a more traditional real-time strategy mode that pits you against an artificial enemy and gives you a plot of land from which you can expand. This is the only other real game mode besides the campaign, and in truth it's not all that different. It's just shorter and there's no storyline. There are 3 campaigns in the game, allowing you to play first as the Empire, then as the Legion of the Damned, and finally as the Elven Alliance. If you can tough it out and stick with them, the campaigns are each a good length, making the overall playtime for the game substantially longer than you might expect. But sticking with them is also a lot harder than it sounds. The game is so broken it's hard to even get past the first level on the easiest difficulty. The first battles you fight throw you and your squad into the ring with characters whose level far surpass your own, making winning nearly impossible. Adding to the difficulty of the game is a very weak tutorial. The tutorial brings up a window that has a list of actions you can do. When you click on an action, you are presented with corresponding text and video instructions for that task. However, the text and video don't always match up with the action you selected, so it's not exactly the best way to teach a newcomer how to play the game. It seems to me that the people at Akella relied heavily on the hope that you would already have a knowledge of the series and therefore know how to play. That makes little sense though, seeing as how they completely changed the way the gameplay is for this installment. Almost everything about the gameplay and combat is different from the previous Disciples games. The map is set up like a board game, allowing you to move a certain amount of spaces along certain paths every turn. Enemies and items are scattered along these paths, as well as beacons where you can expand your territory, and dungeons where you'll find loot if you can defeat what lurks within. Good luck with that. The combat has completely changed for Disciples 3, so be ready for some major differences if you're a fan of the series. The franchise has gone the whole board game route in its entirety, and the combat is no exception. In a fight, you can move your pieces around the board and attack when it's your turn. It's pretty straightforward, but it isn't well done. The AI is absolutely awful at utilizing the new cover system, and the auto-battle switch is completely useless, as your companions are so unintelligent that pressing it means you will almost always lose. The animations and battle effects are subpar and aren't too far off from something you might see in a free-to-play MMO. The visuals are similarly dated. Muddy textures and cheap lighting might be nostalgic, but it's certainly not appropriate if you're asking people to spend real money on your game. The game tries to incorporate familiar elements of other real-time strategy games like Warcraft and the like by allowing you to capture land, gather resources, and build units and buildings. This function of the game is, however, extremely limited. You can only build a few buildings, and they aren't so much core buildings like barracks or base as they are add-ons to your already thriving capital. If you've played any real-time strategy games, then these add-on buildings should remind you most of important research structures that enable the completion of new units and upgrades. There's a decent inventory system here, but it's not great. You can access your weapons and armor and level up all at once on the same screen. This time around, your character's weapon and armor are completely customizable, and the changes you make will show up on your in-game model, which is great because sometimes his head won't. The leveling up system isn't all that great either. Each time you level up, you're given a certain amount of points to spend on your attributes and a certain amount of points to spend on your skills. However, the vast majority of the skills in your tree only increase certain attributes by a few points, so there's literally no difference between gaining attributes and gaining skills. It's redundant and lame, and won't fool anybody. Last but not least, I would like to point out the narrative. It's pretty awful. It was either written by a child or someone whose first language clearly wasn't English. This isn't all that important, but if your native tongue is English, and you're used to playing games where they get it right, you will definitely notice. All in all, Disciples 3 is a mediocre and broken experience that you should stay far, far away from. It has officially been awarded 4 out of 10 for dated visuals, bad gameplay, busted AI, and cheesy storytelling. This has been an Intense Gaming TV review, and we hope that it was useful to you. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and our podcast, and don't forget to check us out on our clan website and on Twitter.